Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to have you with us for the inaugural conversation in our Moms and Mayors series, where we'll spotlight local leaders and communities advancing meaningful air quality and climate solutions at the local level. My name is Maria Finnegan, and I'm a national field manager with Moms Clean Air Force, a community of 1.6 million moms, dads, and caregivers united to protect children from the health impacts of air pollution and climate change. Our conversation today is taking place at a unique time in our country's story, and that extends to children's health. While many of the federal protections that safeguard our health and environment are under attack, this is also a moment filled with possibility. Across the country, local leaders are proving that meaningful progress doesn't have to start in Washington. By partnering with residents and advancing clean energy and resilience solutions, they're building healthier, stronger communities and showing what's possible when communities lead. That idea is the inspiration behind Moms Clean Air Force's Moms and Mayors program, empowering caregivers with the knowledge and tools to work alongside local leaders to advance clean air, clean energy, and climate solutions. And that spirit of partnership is exactly what today's conversation is all about. So let's get to it. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Mayor Mondale Robinson and Dr. William Munn with Enfield Energy Futures, as well as our very own Ashley Hillard of North Carolina, who is our North Carolina field organizer. Now I get to introduce Mayor Robinson. A lifelong advocate for equity and community empowerment, Mayor Mondale Robinson's commitment to public service was shaped by his early experiences growing up as one of 13 children in rural North Carolina. After serving in the U.S. Marine Corps, he dedicated his career to advancing civic engagement and building stronger communities. Today, he serves as the mayor of Enfield, North Carolina, the youngest mayor in the town's history, where he is helping lead an ambitious vision for community resilience, clean energy, and economic revitalization. Beyond Enfield, Mayor Robinson is the founder of the Black Male Voters Project, CEO of WMR Consulting, and a nationally recognized political strategist and commentator whose work has strengthened civic participation and community organizing across the country. We're grateful to have him with us today to share Enfield's remarkable story. Next, Dr. Munn. Dr. William Munn is the founder of The Alluvial and is a consultant with the Southern Environmental Law Center in support of Enfield Energy Futures. He is a strategist, organizer, and research-driven storyteller dedicated to building a just electrification transition across the Southeast. His work is rooted in the belief that sustainable development succeeds when people can see themselves in the plan, and when communities retain ownership of the assets, skills, and wealth created throughout that transition. His work in Enfield exemplifies that approach, helping rural and energy-burdened communities across the Carolinas turn clean energy visions into action through initiatives such as solar plus storage, innovative weatherization concepts, and the broader vision of a regional municipal energy collective. And I can also mention that Dr. Munn is a dad, a cool dad. It's an important part of the conversation. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce Ashley Hillard. She is the North Carolina field organizer for Moms Clean Air Force and is currently a Duke University Master of Public Affairs student and a recent graduate from Duke's Master of Environment Management program. Ashley, says a lot. She engages with communities on issues connected to air quality, including electric school buses, data centers, and renewable energy projects. Along with her environmental policy and advocacy work, she produces and directs documentaries. Ashley serves as a volunteer with the Enfield Energy Futures and was recently appointed to the City of Durham's Environmental Advisory Board. That is what happens when you speak with impressive people. You get to spend about 10 minutes introducing them. That was a lot to read. With that said, I'm excited to get to the fun stuff here. Today, we're going to discuss moving the needle on clean energy initiatives and community resilience at the local level. Moms and Mayors is driven by the belief that meaningful change can happen with the help of community input at the local level, creating lasting and meaningful progress that will benefit our children's health. Well, that sounds a lot like the exciting work that's going on in Enfield, North Carolina. So let's dive on in. Everybody, welcome. Thank you for being here. Hi, everybody. I'll have to say that the mayor is the busiest man we know, so he is literally en route from one important thing to the next, and we're grateful that he has the time for us today. Mayor Robinson, let's start with you. What inspired you to return to Enfield as a leader? Do you have a personal connection to the community? Can you hear us, Mayor?
He's having some difficulties. We are, I think he is trying to get your question here.
Oh, okay.
Hold on one second.
Okay. No, we lost him there for a second. Let's see. We can wait a second, or we can hop on to you, Dr. Munn. So maybe you can just give a little introduction to some of the work that's been going on there in Enfield.
Yeah, so I think back during 2023, we sort of came into the community as a group of advocates, trying to build some momentum around the Inflation Reduction Act. The Inflation Reduction Act, fantastic piece of legislation, really made lots of headway into what it was that America could do with regard to creating its own supply chain and diversifying its energy generation, power generation sources. And so we were sort of looking for a community, for a group of communities where in which we could give community members, regular folks, the 411 as to how the energy transition could benefit them, how new high efficiency HVAC units might work, how solar could benefit and create a quality of life improvement. And so we were able to sort of happen upon Enfield while working with the Center for Energy Education, and spoke with the mayor, with a couple of folks there, and immediately they sort of reached out to us and were able to share the story of Enfield, median household income challenges, economic development challenges, but really a progressive and forward-thinking approach to what it was they wanted to do with regard to revitalization. And so we have really started thinking about how it is that we take all of the fantastic innovations and opportunities that we are living through right now, all of the innovations, all the steps forward with regard to renewable energy technology, businesses, and incorporate that, infuse that into the revitalization plans the mayor and community members are leading. And so we're looking at things far afield as geothermal, all the way to hardening and fixing the grid. It's been a long process, of course, led by the community, and intentionally so that we could ensure that quality of life outcomes were the first things that sort of emanated from that work.
Can I also let me just apologize? I hope you guys can hear me now. Let me apologize to all of the moms and everybody that's watching all over. We having technical difficulties, but we're gonna work through. So I think the first question posed to me was an important question of like what brought me back home to build this blueprint. And I want to say that like being back home, it's not even being home. As you can see right now, I'm on the road. I'm traveling. I'm supposed to be stable for this wonderful and important conversation. But it's actually an interesting conversation because the same thing that took me away from home is what brought me back home. The idea that the world owed me more than what Enfield could offer when I was younger and hungry, trying to figure out who I was going to be in this world and how I was going to show up. It's the same thing that took me back home because I realized that I owed everybody in Enfield that was suffering through this idea that somehow democracy and energy were separate problems. that we needed to solve separately. And I think that really drove me back home. Let me say that clear. My people are suffering from the decisions made by politicians that never considered their lived experience or all of the problems that were created by policies. None of the reasons that my people are given are the reason that they are suffering through those things. We are not lazy people. Even though we work hard, we have adequate resources to survive. Our energy bills are higher than most people in this country. It is not because we don't try to be inefficient or we don't care about the economy or we live lives that are super abundant. It is because we've not been given enough to exist in this world. So I came back home to make sure that my people had a fighting chance at tomorrow by preparing them today. And I think that sounds lofty, but it's the exact reason we do this work. So while we want to be resilient, absolutely. We think climate technology, green technology is important, but it's only important in the context that people can have an equitable chance at life. Not tomorrow, but right now.
Well, I mean, it's not lofty. It's an important part of why you're doing this, right? And it's, I remember when we first spoke with you and Dr. Munn, like understanding your vision for what this clean technology can mean for the future of your community to correct, or hopefully you can't fix the wrongs, but create a better future. That's one that's more resilient. So, that brings me to, for your question for Dr. Munn that kind of goes off of that. I remember when we first met, I was struck by how you were truly almost the perfect person for a partnership in this work based on your background. And, how would you say that your deep understanding of the region and its history has played a role in the work you're doing? And how do you bring that knowledge into the projects that you're pursuing?
Yeah, I think it comes with recognizing having a love for the land. The southeastern North Carolina is a deeply ancestral space for me. Every sunset that I can enjoy, I think about my ancestors and those who came before me and the hard work that they've put into, to allow me the opportunity to be here today. I think about all of the Friday night football games that go on across the East, the barbecues. It is quite literally the best place to live on earth. And I love it with all of my heart. And so I just grew up in this part of the state with the people, going to church, playing basketball, playing football, soccer, playing instruments, being in the band, going to different competitions, and just loving the people. And in loving the people, you hear the stories that they tell you, you hear the pain that they feel, it's inescapable. I'm struck by I am continuing.
I think you're muted, William.
Oh, I'm back. What happened? I may have. It has been one of those days. Where did I drop off there? Apologies.
The rooting to the community, ancestors, Friday night football.
Yeah. Sorry about that. So I think I've just been deeply in love with everything that is Eastern North Carolina. From high school, from going to competitions, meeting other people, to going to school at Fayetteville State University and having the opportunity to interface with all the people who came back home to that regional university, sharing stories. It is a deeply beautiful place to live, and I think it's the best place to live in the world. And so, in interfacing with all of these folks, and interfacing, talking, and breaking bread and fellowshipping with folks, they tell you the stories of their life. And so I'm struck by a situation that happened to me in 1987. I'll never forget it. Sitting around the table with some extended family members, they were talking about how their electricity bills were just as much as their mortgage, just as much as their rent, and how they felt like they were trapped. And that deposited something in me back then. And then that same night, I remember watching ABC News, and they were doing a featured piece on a solar car. And that solar car just blew my mind, because it made me realize that there was an alternate path. Maybe it wasn't finished at that point in time, but it was a path to not being trapped by the specter or the monopoly of fossil fuels and the grip it had on my people and my family members. And so the love that I have for this, and so that night did two things for me. It let me know how important figuring the future out was. And then it also let me know that there was a future to fight for and be able to expand upon. And so that has followed me in one way or another to this point that I am here I am today. And so I've just been really blessed to be able to actualize and operationalize these dreams, be able to exercise love through policy and work with Mayor Robinson and the good people of Enfield. But Eastern North Carolina is deeply a spiritual place for me. I've suffered through hurricanes. I've suffered, we've gone through economic downturns. The downturn to 2010 deeply impacted Eastern North Carolina in ways where, when the rest of the state recovered, that part of the state continued to be impacted. So between Matthew, between Florence, between the economic downturn, Eastern North Carolina continues to have challenge, but there's incredible opportunity, and that's why we're here today.
Maria, can I jump in and add something to why Dr. Munn worked? Even in his response, I think it's extremely important for people that are not familiar with this dirt that we call Eastern North Carolina. You heard him say something about loving the land. You heard him say something about his ancestors. And both of those are like striking to me. They hit me at my core, simply because people need to understand that. And him calling it a spiritual land is something deep. Eastern North Carolina, while it's not the most populated part of our state, it is a part of the Black Belt region. And it's not originally Black Belt because of the people or race. It actually was Black Belt because of the nutrient-rich soil. And it allowed for the growth of plantations. So the majority of North Carolina's plantation existed in the South. This is why North Carolina's 5 majority Black counties are in this region. It is also why throughout the South, not just the geo borders that are North Carolina, but across the entire South, that the Black Belt region remains some of the most exploited land, some of the most degraded land in this country. The comfort of America's America's tolerance with Black suffering still exists in this space right now. So we have a space that is so tied to not just the economic, the wealth of this entire country exists because of these regions, yet they are still the most downtrodden. And that in itself make this work still so real. Talking about the exploitative nature of utilities and the dirty energy, fossil fuel that we are so dependent on in this nation, and how it exploits these regions still, makes this work so much more important. My people, this conversation that moved Dr. Munn to become who Dr. Munn is, that he had in '87, it's still a conversation my people are having right now. Enfield, while the town owns its own grid, my people are still paying 13% of their annual income, which isn't much. My people's annual income is somewhere around $24,000 to $25,000 a year, and 13% of that goes to their energy bill. That is so impressive that I would argue that it is damn near impossible to match that across this nation. And to not have an answer to that, for America not to have an answer to that and call itself the richest nation in the world, is a slap in the face of my people. So that is why Dr. Munn's work, that is why we do this work daily, and it's why it takes us all over this country to find answers to it.
Well, you both have drawn, a clear connection to the deep roots that of the past of your area that you've grown up, you love, and your recognition for the way that the community has been held down, held back, and you see clean energy solutions as a way to not only lessen those extreme disproportionate costs, but hopefully become self-reliant and self-sufficient. And, I'm curious, when you think about this plan, I'm guessing community empowerment is a part of it, and that there are going to be jobs created. Like, how did those elements fit in with your greater vision?
Yeah, I think Dr. Munn, if you don't mind, I'm gonna start. When he said like making sure that like quality of life impacts what we thought about first when we went into this program is exactly what we did. I mean, it is not a program if it doesn't change the lived experience of our people. If my people aren't better off after Enfield Energy Futures existence, then we shouldn't have started in the beginning. I feel the same way about my mayorship. It is one that must mark not reinvestment, but investment in the first time. Any investment in Enfield happened before Black people had agency. I am only the fourth or fifth elected mayor in the town, even though we've been historically Black, majority Black since its creation. That is to say that something intentional had been at play, ensuring that Black people stayed in this position, this low position that we find ourselves in Enfield. So our job is to make sure that we're not just building an economy that excludes these people, but intentionally includes these people. So when we think about what this do, we can't just build solar farms and people's job is to build those farms and then nothing else. We need to make sure that there are Black children that will be Black engineers, green energy engineers going forward. We need to ensure that through this work, that there's ownership in what we are building. This is why Dr. Munn and I are working with some of the people at Duke to build an industry that say that our people will build solar lights that will help illuminate not just Enfield, but other municipalities, that we will sell these. And then when selling these solar lights, also these people wouldn't just work there. Our people won't work there. They'll also be part owners through this co-op model. We're thinking that the revitalization hub will not just be that. It'll also dub as a place where our people can go and work, because some people may be surprised, but our people know all too well that connectivity is not a real thing in the country. Some of our people can't even get on the internet. So we're going to turn this revitalization hub into a space where our people can go and work 24 hours remotely, so they don't have to leave this rural space. They can stay at home and still work anywhere. So these are some of the things we're doing to ensure that our people are tapped in to the 21st century. And Dr. Munn, anything you think you should add?
Yeah, I think we are in a 21st century economy that gives, if folks have the opportunity and the connectivity, as the mayor alluded to, the opportunity to build whatever comes to our mind at this point in time. As we are such a special space, and what's so exciting and what should give our audience and everyone here hope is that there's a real democratization when we think about putting a solar panel out in the sun in a battery and being at a very core level, being able to produce electricity. And when you're able to show the people of Enfield that, or any community in Eastern North Carolina, that they have the power to do that, that we have the power to build anything that we can. And so that comes to our mind. And it's so exciting at this point. Battery technology is taking huge strides forward. Solar panel technology is taking huge strides forward. Wind, geothermal. And so when you think, and this is the brilliance and the genius of the mayor, when you include the people at the very beginning and give them agency to help co-create something that just at the same time happens to intersect with what we believe is the second industrial revolution, one that's going to be driven by photons and telecommunications. The sky is the limit. And so that's where we want to position Enfield, is to be at the intersection of all these critically and brilliant opportunities, and also to Yeah. So yeah, we're in a great place.
And I think, Dr. Munn, I think we should be clear at that the point of the intersection point that you're talking about is technology, democracy, and equity, and energy is involved in all of that and necessary for us to achieve anything that looks like what our goals are for Enfield Energy's future.
It's so important to remind people, often when you hear about North Carolina, you hear about the research triangle, you hear about a very affluent and connected part of the state, and recognizing that there are generations of people who were there before who are having trouble even getting online, right? So you're trying to even bring your community up to the level where they can begin to plug into some of these incredible opportunities that exist for other people. I appreciate, the background, a lot of that information. You've touched on at various points. You've mentioned solar, agrivoltaics, geothermal. I'd love for you to start sharing a bit more about some of these projects that you're pursuing that will bring energy and connectivity to the community.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Munn, start us out.
Yeah, I'll jump in. The mayor, one of the things that we recognize in this energy transition, particularly for rural folks, is that there's a lot of skepticism out there with regard to how does solar work? How do batteries work? How is this going to make my life better? At the end of the day, that's what folk are going to ask. And so we realized that we needed to put something in the middle of Enfield as soon as possible that would demonstrate the quality of life improvement one can benefit from if this transition were to be able to be diffused throughout the city and the region. This is something that we think regionally can be duplicated. And so the mayor, he purchased a 1920s bungalow on 700 McDaniel Street. And the idea is, you may have heard him speak to it earlier, it's called the Enfield Revitalization Lab. And the idea is to transform, to retrofit this home and transform it into a solar plus storage demonstration site, probably 18 to 20 kilowatt system with the battery storage backup. So it would be able to operate as a resilience hub in the event of a grid failure. But then also just a solar plus storage demonstration site. So people will be able to come in, have a birthday party, have a study session, have prayer night in this building, and be able in July, it's being cooled by high efficiency, heat pumps. Another product of this electrification movement that we're living in. And they get to see it, they get to touch it, they get to feel it, they get to see, oh, those solar panels, they're there, and they're, and it's 12 o'clock in the daytime, and they walk into the door and they see how much electricity is being generated and stored, right? And then so we also want this site to be able to house in the back a demonstration agrivoltaic site. So being able to grow, cabbage, strawberries are really great. But so we're working with some partners in Cary to be able to bring that concept there. And then so I'm going to leave the other two announcements, the other two projects that we're working on, the geothermal and the overall grid, the larger grid at 432 Hannon Street. I'll leave that to the mayor to speak to. And it looks like he might be frozen, so I'm just going to jump right in there. Mayor, were you able to hear me, ma'am? Okay. Yeah, maybe you might be having audio issues. So we want the revitalization lab is just the first start. We want the first step. We want to expand. We really want to create a microgrid where Enfield can generate enough electricity to be able to serve all of its residents, and then keep that wealth in within Enfield. We all know that wholesale contracts can be extremely exploitative, as the mayor mentioned, and we would like to explore a model where we can break free of that. and see how much energy and electricity that we can generate on our own, clean energy, but then also exercise a level of self-determination that we've not seen in Eastern North Carolina ever. And so that's one thing obviously we want to revitalize that space, and if possible, we would love to make that microgrid solar plus storage plus agrivoltaics. We believe in stacking function, right? In America, we should be getting as much use out of every square inch that we can, and we're brilliant enough and resourceful enough to do these things. And so that's one thing. And before we even want to put one solar panel up for a microgrid, we want to ensure that demand in Enfield, so that's how much energy the entire town uses, we want to be sure that that's efficiently honed in, right? And so we are working with Duke University, and we've got a grant from Build US to do a demonstration test loop of a geothermal thermal energy network. And the idea there is that if we can employ this on a small level and then be able to expand, we'll be able to regulate what is now the highest driver of folks' electricity bills, which is cooling and heating. Mm-hmm. So we're able to do that. We're in a great place, we believe, to maybe even reduce overall demand in Enfield, electricity demand, 20, 30, maybe even 40%. So in that event, we may not even have to build a microgrid that is that large. So we've been very, very fortunate to have incredible technical assistance with the National Renewable Laboratories in the Rockies, and also the Pacific Northwestern Labs to help us think through these concepts. We've had a fantastic cadre of partners, and are just really, really fortunate to have that. So between geothermal, between the microgrid, between the weatherization lab, and then thinking deeply about how do we build wealth that's retainable, how do we build new industries, right? We'd love to invite folks who want to build tiny homes to demonstrate what new developments look like from the ground up utilize renewable energy. So we're just really in anything is possible, and with the partners that we have and the spirit that we have to succeed. We're going to succeed. The only question is how long is it going to take? We're going to do this, and we want to invite all of America to be able to come home to Enfield to have a homecoming event. September 19th, shameless plug. We're having Revitalization Day, but we want to invite all the folks to come down and be able to say, okay, this is what happens when you truly lean into what is possible when we have a regenerative circular economy, and one that is led with the belief that people's quality of life, that every Enfield resident is a part of the economy. Not one person is left behind. Every person in Enfield is part of a family, of an economy, and a way to make a life. We believe that is the future. We believe more broadly that what happens when southern states decide to quit forgetting about their black belt, and if we truly leaned in to investing into the black belt the way that we plan to do in Enfield across North Carolina, could be the richest state ever if it truly leaned into this vision.
Well, one of the things that struck me early on about the revitalization hub is the multitude of purposes it serves, right? So it's not only is it a gathering place for people now to have community events or to cool off, but it's also a physical construction of these things that you're trying to demystify, right? You're having the heat pumps, you have the solar, people can see these things, they can see the batteries, and they're no longer confused, like they're here and they're working. And it's also a safety mechanism for when the power goes out and people need to keep their medications cool. Like, you have created this thing that is really giving the community a vision of this future that you're trying to build for them. I think that's just remarkable. And I don't know, I'm guessing it was, the mayor who had this idea, and then you were able to create it there and use it as momentum for all the projects you're hoping to do.
That's right. Yeah, every movement needs a beating heart, right? It needs a flagship. It needs a place to plant its flag, and that's really what the Weatherization Lab is designed. It's lower hanging fruit, something that we believe we're able to raise money to be able to do and get done, either through donations of of expertise or product, or good old fundraising. We believe this is obtainable. We believe this is obtainable pretty quickly, and so we are inviting all of our advocates. We're inviting all of our partners to be a part of this, because we want everyone to be able to say, I have ownership, I have agency in this. But you're right. It's all about the duplicity, the duplicative nature of function. We want to stack function so that folks are able to get every bit of value and quality of life improvement.
Well, I'm curious, William, I think like maybe this might be the time to bring in Ashley, who's been here in the conversation quietly. And I know that you guys will push back a little bit when I remind you that Ashley often refers to herself as the cheerleader for the Enfield project. But she connected, first with, Mayor Robinson and yourself about a year ago during the revitalization day, and was inspired. So Ashley, I would love to hear how you fit into all this.
Maria, before you bring Ashley in, or Ashley, before you start speaking, can I tell you why we push back on the idea that she's just a cheerleader? I think it's important to know that it is. Well, first of all, I had to switch to my phone because the technology was being technology. I think it's important that folk know that if you're going to be an ally, there's a way to show up, that you're not taking up space, but you're increasing the bandwidth of the work. And I feel like Ashley shows up as the best type of ally. When we first met Ashley, it felt as if she had been a part of the work from the beginning, and she's never lost that steam. It's been as if all of the moms that she represents are from Enfield, rooted in Enfield, or related to Enfield. And I think when you're going to be an ally, it is important that you show up like Ashley's showing up. And I think that realization is why we push back. That is not just a cheerleader. That is someone is hands-on and also integral to the work that we're doing. So that's why we don't call Ashley a cheerleader, but she's a co-conspirator in that aspect. And I think that is the way when you have people not connected to communities showing up that way for communities, then how we all get free. It is impossible for those who would work against the work to not see and represent what Ashley is to our work, because Ashley's not connected to our community. So when she's speaking that loud on behalf of our community, then it gives us a pillar that we can sleep on and not have to be on that fight. So that's why Ashley's not a cheerleader. She's a part of the Enfield Energy Coalitions for that reason.
All right, Ashley.
How do I follow Mayor and Dr. Munn? I mean, thank you so much. That means so much to me. And Maria, I'm so happy to be here today and glad that we can feature the amazing work being done in Enfield, led by Mayor and Dr. Munn. And I do call myself a cheerleader, not as a negative, but I'll take co-conspirator. I think that's a great term. And I've been with the team for about a year. Allie Simpson with Moms actually first told me about the work happening in Enfield through a Canary Media article. And Canary Media has done some great features on Enfield. If you haven't seen the trajectory basically over that year plus of what's been growing and the momentum that's happening. And I was so excited to learn about their plans for the town and the revitalization day. And going there was just so amazing, seeing the community and the coalition come together, partners like Duke University, Center for Energy Education, Southern Environmental Law Center. Everyone had a shovel, everyone was doing something, building this garden, building the vision, including Mayor, who just went through a traumatic accident, and he still showed up and he was still out there helping, directing, making sure things are getting done, but in a really community-driven way. And people were sharing food. the barbecue that Dr. Munn touched on, you know, it was really a beautiful gathering, and I've been so excited to be a part of it ever since. And I've learned so much through my work in advocacy, especially through working with Enfield, the importance of relationships and listening, that I'm not the one to tell a community what they need. I try to take the approach of the community, you know, if they're looking for help with something, how can I support? And the Moms Comms team does an amazing job of sharing stories and supporting events. So that's where I saw myself fitting in. And in addition to that, making connections where I can between the great people doing important work in Enfield and the broader groups that Moms works with, and putting everyone in touch so they could share ideas and technical assistance. So really glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, Ashley, I mean, over the past year, it really struck me as a connector, right? As someone who listened and tried to figure out who you knew and who you could bring into the conversation when it fit. Does that sound accurate?
Absolutely. Ashley has been.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Munn.
Ashley has been amazing. The ability, her knack for being able just to, I've got an idea. I think I know someone, and I'm going to reach out to them. And then literally 10 minutes after the call, there's an email introducing you and connecting you. I can't tell you how much value and how much authenticity. These aren't just, you know, fly-by-night connections. These are real authentic, thoughtful connections. Always follows up, always does what she says she's going to do. Just an incredible human being. And a credit to the organization, to the Moms organization, and to Enfield Energy Futures.
Well, I'm curious, you know, to build on that. So maybe this, Mayor, this is something that you'd like be interested in answering. Like, you've mentioned a couple times this coalition. Like, how are you finding these partners? How are they supporting your efforts? How are you working together to achieve the goals that you have?
Yeah, Maria, unfortunately, we live in a time where our government is inadequate to address the problems of its people, even though we brag about how rich and how powerful and how America is about to celebrate 250 years of greatness. There are still some of us who are living on the margins and suffering because of America. So when we have partners like Ashley who can connect us to other people, this is how we are. This is truly how we are actually finding people to help support our work. The work is creating work and also buzz. The Canary article introduced us to a lot of people that we otherwise would have never seen or known about our work. And I think through those conversations, we've been able to present through the Duke University relationship, through Farmington, Massachusetts, and just some of the philanthropy that we found that support some of the other work that we're doing at Black Male Voter Project. Being able to bring those people in and their connections to clean energy has allowed us to introduce this work and try to figure out how we're going to fund it beyond an inefficient government that is failing its people.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the interconnectedness of this, because voting rights play a role. Like, everything happening right now is tying in to not only the pushback, but also the potential for progress, right? You've both struck me in our conversations with your almost, it seems, contradictory optimism, right? You see this as an opportunity, as we're losing rights at the federal level, to make progress locally, to band together and create real change together. And it seems like with these partnerships, with these collaborators, you're able to push forward.
Yeah, and I think the just grounding the work in history is where the hope comes from. So it's not, the reason it's not contradictory is because you understand that it is darkest right before it becomes bright. And I think we're in this moment right now where we see all rights being attacked, all things that should be concrete. The idea that everybody has access to the ballot, the idea that everybody should have clean earth to grow clean food, everybody should have clean water to drink so as to water said food, and also themselves. All of those should be basic necessities in a country that claims to be as great as this one is. So I think our hope is in the fight that we see in our people. The hope is in a history that we've already won. So we understand that this hope and this fight is more optimistic than it is chaotic. In that, if you understand that people fight in this way, those who stand in our way right now, those who will put a moratorium on solar, those who will give unlimited access to all of America's earth and its beauty to people who would drill and try to find oil when they shouldn't be looking, people that are having access to water that are trying to jeopardize it. Those who fight this way in this manner know that their time, their moments are limited. So we are grounding our work in that idea that these people are so chaotic and barbaric in their fight because we are that close to realizing that world that Dr. Munn talked about, where people are living and surviving in a way that is good for Mother Earth and living and surviving in a way that is good for their neighbors and kids that come even when we are not here. So I'm super excited, not to some pie in the sky idea. It's gonna take work and consistent fight from us, but that fight is grounded in the fact that we've done it before. Those who had, I tell people all the time, the first black farmers were the first green farmers. Because Monsanto's and USDA weren't trying to give people ideas, black people ideas on how you keep your seed alive and how you keep your plants alive. So we had to come up with natural remedies for things that could harm us. And I think we're back in a point now where America has blackened everybody, meaning it has put everybody in this point where you are so low that you must create without a government to assist you if you are thinking about tomorrow and an environment that can serve people beyond this moment.
And before we go to Q&A, I just want to say, come to Enfield. We are excited because we want you to come to Enfield. Enfield is that beating heart of democracy. It is that optimism. And all of us can pour into that and believe. It's great to go to Raleigh. It's great to go to Charlotte. It's great to go to Durham. Love those places. But come to Eastern North Carolina. Come to Enfield and let's transform. Let's put all of that frustration aside and come and pour into this vision that once complete, we can export everywhere.
I would say, Dr. Munn, please go to Raleigh and Cary first, then come to Enfield, because it puts in context how intentional politicians and policies have forgotten some people. So I would say, please go to Durham and the Triangle, then come to Enfield, and you can see why we work so vigorously, because we're only 45 minutes up the road, but we're a million miles away from where they are. And when it comes to investment and intentionality.
That's real.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you both for sharing that. I mean, it's just, it's almost like, to me, it's thinking about the way you've chosen clean energy. You know, the sun is unlimited, right? No one can take that from you. So you're pulling from something that has been given to you, given to all of us. So you don't have to rely on the people who've taken from you. And it's just remarkable how you've tied that into this plan you have for the future and the way you're pursuing it. And gosh, now I want to come to Enfield.
Yeah, as a person of faith, I would be remiss if I didn't say that God gave us the sun, gave us the ground. He gave us all these things to be stewards over. They're all unlimited. To the extent that humans can benefit and create a sustainable existence. Why are we not using it?
Yeah. Well, you know, we've got people asking some questions here, and you know, many of them are like me, inspired by the story, and they're wondering to hear from both William and the mayor about, you know, this position you have as leaders. What have you learned in this process that you would want to share with others who are either mayors of their community or local elected officials who are hoping to create some sort of similar change or have a similar vision for the future? Like, what have you learned? What was the advice you'd give them?
The powers that will be against you are big, but consistency will eliminate those powers. Those are only perceived power. There's no real power against us. I like the pun on power because of the sun. I think if, as long as you are consistent with this work, People will come. Some meetings when we first started was 2 people, 3 people. Now we have consistent meetings where our people are tapped into this energy work. Our people are asking us questions. It is the main topic in our communities, and it's not as if we have a super educated community. Our community has less than 13% of the population with college degrees. Our people are living on the margins, and if our people can tap into this conversation, that means information frees everybody to be a part of it. So I would tell anybody, just start the conversation in your community. There is no blueprint for rural people getting themselves free from dirty energy. We are creating it together, and the more of us that are doing it, the quicker we will get there. The more quicker, let me be country, the more quicker we'll get to energy independence. The quicker we'll have resilient communities that address the problems that are plaguing our people. The bomb is no longer in Gilead. It is in rural communities. If we're going to be biblical, it is in rural communities. The answer to our problems are at our community gates. It is not in Raleigh. It is not in Cary. They can no longer speak for down east North Carolina. We suffer uniquely from dirty energy, so we have to find the solutions. So I tell people every time, you are the experts your communities are looking for. No one knows, not a census report, not a poll, not a statistician knows your communities and the better ways to address their problems than you. So get busy, because the longer you wait, the more you allow your people to suffer when they don't have to.
Come to Enfield, give us a call. We're happy to talk with you. We're happy to consult with you. There's strength in numbers. We know there's other communities out there who are municipal utilities: Red Springs, Kenston, Wilson, Greenville, Tarboro. There's lots of you across, North Carolina, Shelby. If you're interested, hey, South Carolina, Georgia, you have the same kind of setup. Come talk to us. There's strength in numbers. When this becomes a movement, nothing can stop it.
Well, to the both of you, you're talking about a movement, and I know in the past and in the title, we've envisioned this plan kind of as a blueprint for other communities. What is your hope for the impacts of this project, the message it's going to send? If as this progresses, how do you hope similar communities will look to you? Will they be inspired to do the same, or what is your perspective on that?
For me, my perspective is not that they would do the same. My perspective is they would do exactly what their community needs to address this moment, and also do their role of eating this elephant we call dirty energy and eliminating it. I am hoping that the blueprint that you were talking about when you all named this is that Enfield is the first ripple in a ton of ripples that will eliminate dirty energy from this planet. I'm super excited about what can be. And we think about it as if, well, Duke Energy is not going anywhere. Progressive is not going anywhere. They're going as long as we continue to work. And I think for me, I'm hoping that every community tap into what we're trying to do in their own way, so as to help eliminate dirty energy and the need for it in our communities.
Yeah, every community has a value proposition. They have a strategic advantage. Some are close to 95, some are close to universities. Do what's best for your community, but put your community first. Recognize that you are in control of your own destiny, that you have more power than you realize. I think that's what we want folks to realize. We want them to realize that there's a wealth of partners, of stakeholders who are interested in working with you to help you realize your dreams, whether that's turning a old abandoned building down in your downtown into a solar plus storage demonstration site, or whether that's taking the old water plant and converting that area into a microgrid. All things are possible. Let's build this together.
And the hardest step is the first one. The hardest step is the first step. You have to do it. And I want to say something kind of not connected to this, but it is connected. I don't want anyone watching this this stream, believing that the mayor's disconnecting from different technologies, hopping on his phone. means that I'm not serious about this conversation. Moms did a lot of work to make this happen, and just so happened I am not independently wealthy, so I'm required to be in many places. This work takes me all over, and right now I'm on a bus trying to make sure that people understand, one, what we're doing in Enfield, and also that Black men are a part of this democracy fight that we can't sacrifice. Therefore, I am required to be in many places, but it is extremely important to understand that this in this political cycle. So while this is not a political conversation, it is important to understand where we are and who we must fight against to get all of us free. And I think we should keep our eyes on that fight right now in this moment and not divorce clean energy from electoral politics in that way.
Well, thank you. And thank you for bringing in that context. And we know you're a busy guy. Like, we just appreciate that you're able to make the time, because this is hopefully part of the equation, and all the work that you're doing, helping people to understand that projects like this are taking place. People are making real change in their communities, and we had a question come in. It was actually directed towards Ashley. If you were inspired to support work like this in your community or in a community that isn't yours, right? Because I know you don't live in Enfield. Like, what advice would you give for starting to get involved for somebody who isn't involved?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the audience can hear from, Dr. Munn and the mayor explaining the work that's happening, the inspiration that just spreads out across the state, I think across the country. Again, coming back to the blueprint, that Enfield is really building something to show that it's possible to be effective at the local level. And I've been inspired every day. I talk about them every day, every chance I get. So it's easy to make those connections because of the work they're doing. And I think people can get involved in ways that they have capacity for. If it's sharing some social media post, if it's joining a live stream, if it's going to Enfield Energy Futures, the website, seeing the work that's happening, showing up the revitalization day if you're local, getting involved in your community in similar projects, around renewable energy, supporting communities that are not already benefiting from a lot of the things that, the comparisons between Raleigh and Enfield. So how can you get involved? And that also includes food systems, which isn't something we've talked about, but very key. Dr. Munn and Mayor have amazing ideas connecting different problems and finding solutions for them. And Enfield's also a food desert. And so how do you grow food? And they farm. So it's a farmer, driven community that's also a food desert. How, and so understanding those systems, how you can reinvent the local grocery store, bring in solar panels. If you're a company, can you donate solar panels? How can you get involved in what capacity? I think there's so many ways. And my small way, because again, small part of an amazing, inspiring team, but I worked with great coalition partners on a Good News in North Carolina event in March to uplift the work that Enfield's doing, among other great groups that are doing inspiring work. And they were able to show folks in the Triangle what's going on in Enfield. A lot of people weren't aware. What does it mean to have your own utility? What does that look like? What can you do with that? And so having meaningful conversations and working with a great coalition. Again, I'll shout out to SELC, Professors Brian McAdoo and Helen Whiteley, Center for Energy Education, Burgett Farms, working with people who want to get involved and do what they can and show up. And we're all doing it in the interest of children's health, community health, better air quality. It's something we can all agree on, even coming from different political backgrounds. We all want nutritious food, clean air, clean water. And so I think Enfield really exemplifies the ways that communities can make that happen and inspire people to get involved.
Well, I see, if you guys can believe it, we've been speaking for an hour. The conversation has just flowed so well. We're going to have to wrap it up, but I'm curious, before we do, if you can briefly give me a little blurb on what gives you hope right now. What keeps you going?
Just for me, the looking in people's eyes and being able to work with them to leverage this second industrial revolution, one I would call the electrification revolution to bring them the catalysts and opportunities and access to change their lives forever. I'll say that everybody, being a person who loves history and loves the story of history, everyone brings a story to you. They bring their own life story, and the ability to help them shape that story in a way that benefits them for the rest of their lives and their children and children's children. The opportunity to do something that's never been done because this technology has never been here is just tantalizing. And so I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah, I think at this moment, what's giving me hope is, like I said, this ferocious fight against us. I'm not looking to be a martyr. I don't want any of us to be a martyr. But I think there's some truth to this idea that people get extremely weary when they're extremely scared of losing power. And I feel like people are extremely trying to hold on to power with everything they got right now because they see what's happening. We cannot watch around the world, the rest of the world, run to folk who we say are our greatest competitors in its size of economy as they continue to build and give credits for solar energy, talking about China's investment into green energy while we sit idle as if we don't understand what's happening. This is not simply about economy, but it's also about security. There's no secure a world when we don't plan for an environment where our energy is not produced by things that are as unreliable as dirty energy. Well, we have to build grids on top of the ground that are subjected to tornadoes and hurricanes and tsunamis. When we put heating and cooling sources underground that depend on the Earth's core, which is always going to be the same temperature, and it does so little harm to Earth. I'm excited about what's possible with geothermal. I'm excited about what's possible with wind, even though people are trying to stop it. I'm excited about the fact that the sun's going to wake up in the morning, even before I do, every morning, even when I'm gone. I'm excited about how we continue to figure out how to use these technologies in spite of those who try to fight us. And I am excited about the fact that God wakes me up every day to continue to participate in this fight for a cleaner world. Even though I'm not going to be here much longer, somebody else will. And I have a role to play in that.
Thank you. What about you, Ashley? I'm going to give you a second. What do you think?
Oh gosh, I mean, the work happening in Enfield truly gives me hope. Just local change, even when I won't go on a soapbox, but I was a big believer in national change, federal change, and that's where it was at until more recent events. And so localized power and initiatives, it's so inspiring. And communities coming together. If you don't like what's happening, what can you change in your town? And to have a mayor like Mayor Robinson who listens, finds solutions, travels, always on the move, always, thinking of some way to improve what's happening and to see the momentum building that's happening. Dr. Munn always has great plans as well and connecting the dots and to see it happen. I think that's another lesson in it that gives me hope is it does take time. It does take time, but seeing the momentum happen is very inspiring and hopeful. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Maria, what gives you hope?
Thank you, Ashley. No, honestly, I mean, it's for me, it's always finding other people who care as deeply about this as I do, who get excited about the possibility of something different, something better. I love the energy that Dr. Munn and the mayor have, where it's just, hey, what if, the possibility, why not try something different? And who says it's not going to work? What if we only think it is? And I'm grateful that there are people who are out there fighting for a better future for my son too, and recognizing there are people who care about this work. So with that, I'm so grateful for the three of you for joining us today, for being a part of this conversation, for the work you're doing. I know the conversation will continue. We'll keep closely updated on what you're doing. And Ashley is always chiming in, letting us know what the latest is. And we're always excited to help any way that we can. And I'm also grateful to all the people who joined us today to learn about this story, and really start to understand that you have the power to create change in your community, even if you're just a person, small person in a small town. You are able to make connections to create change. You need that person to step up, and that can be you. And you can learn about the work we're doing with Moms and Mayors, which really is focused on that exact principle, working together with elected officials. And I did have somebody ask, what do we do beyond clean energy? We're also involved in work around data centers, smart surfaces, which are solutions, climate solutions like white ceilings and water drains, specific water gardens for flooding. There's just so many different things you can do in your community to improve the future of long-term with mitigation, but also help lower the temperature locally. So that's another thing that we do. And then we're also working against advanced recycling. So if you go to our website, which we're going to be putting up a QR code afterwards, you will get to see and learn more about Moms and Mayors. You'll also see a link there for Enfield Energy Futures, so you can learn more about the work they're doing there. And you can always reach out to us at Moms if you have questions, if you need advice, if you're interested in reaching out to your elected official, or if you want to learn more about clean energy or any of the things we discussed today, we are here. So thank you for joining us, and we'll have another one somewhere down the line. But for now, this was an incredible conversation. So thank you to our panelists, and have a good night.
Peace and blessings.
Thank you.